1. The nature of consciousness. You sit by the window, watching the afternoon light dance across the floor, and you wonder, what is it that lets you notice these things at all? Consciousness is like a quiet stream, always moving, always shifting, yet somehow holding the shape of you in its flow. It's not just thoughts or feelings, but the space where those thoughts and feelings arise, like clouds passing through an open sky. Sometimes it feels solid, like the ground beneath your feet, and other times it slips away when you try to grasp it, like mist between your fingers. Yet here you are, aware of the warmth of the sun, the sound of your breath, the gentle hum of being alive. It's both ordinary and extraordinary, the same awareness that ties you to a child's laughter or the ache of missing someone. And though it's easy to get lost in questions about how it all works, perhaps the deeper truth is simply this. Consciousness is how the universe knows itself, and you, right now, are its quiet witness. 2. Theories of mind-body dualism. You might find yourself wondering how the thoughts in your mind connect to the body you inhabit, how something as intangible as an idea can move your hand or quicken your pulse. This curiosity leads us to the theories of mind-body dualism, which suggest that the mind and body are distinct yet intertwined, like two dancers moving in harmony yet never fully merging. Imagine your mind as a lantern, casting light on the world, while your body is the vessel that carries it, shaping how the light is seen and felt. Dualism proposes that these two elements, the immaterial mind and the physical body, coexist, each influencing the other in ways we're still trying to understand. It's a bit like a river and its current. You can see the water, but the force guiding its flow is invisible, yet undeniably real. This idea invites us to pause and consider the mystery of our own existence. How we feel joy in our chests or tension in our shoulders, yet can't quite pinpoint where those sensations truly begin. It's a gentle reminder that some questions don't need immediate answers. Sometimes, simply pondering them can bring a quiet sense of connection to the profound complexity of being alive. 3. Materialism and the physical basis of mind. You sit there, perhaps sipping tea or gazing out the window, and wonder, how does the mind, this whirlwind of thoughts and feelings, arise from the body, this tangible, physical thing? It's like asking how a melody emerges from the strings of a guitar, or how a flame springs from wood. Materialism suggests that the mind isn't some separate, ethereal entity, but rather a beautiful, intricate dance of the brain's physical processes. Imagine your brain as a vast, interconnected forest, each neuron a tree, their branches reaching out, forming pathways that light up with every thought, every memory, every emotion. The mind, then, is the forest alive, its rustling leaves, its shifting shadows, its quiet hum. It's not that the mind is the forest, exactly, but it's inseparable from it, a kind of emergent magic born from the physical world. This idea can feel grounding, even comforting. Instead of searching for something beyond our grasp, we find the extraordinary right here, in the pulsing, fragile body that carries us through life. It's a reminder that the mind, for all its mystery, is deeply rooted in the same reality we can touch, see, and feel, like a song woven into the very fabric of existence. 4. The hard problem of consciousness, Chalmers. You find yourself staring at the night sky, wondering how the flickering stars above, cold and distant, can give rise to the warm, vivid experience of seeing them. This is the heart of the hard problem of consciousness. Why does the mere firing of neurons in your brain create the rich, inner world of thoughts, colors, and feelings you know so intimately? It's as if a symphony of electrical signals somehow composes not just a mechanical process, but the very melody of being you. Scientists can map the brain's pathways, trace its rhythms. Yet the leap from biology to experience remains a mystery, like trying to describe sunlight to someone who's only ever touched shadows. David Chalmers, who named this problem, suggests that consciousness might be as fundamental as gravity, woven into the fabric of reality itself. Not something to be solved, but perhaps something to be accepted, like the way we accept that the sky is blue without needing to explain its blueness away. And so, in this quiet moment, you're left with a question as vast as the sky. Could it be that the universe, in all its complexity, is not just aware, but alive with awareness, and you are its way of knowing itself. 5. Neural correlates of consciousness. You might wonder, as many have, what it is that makes us truly aware, how the spark of consciousness ignites within the labyrinth of our minds. Imagine your brain as a vast, intricate network, like a city pulsing with lights, each neuron a tiny street lamp illuminating the pathways of thought and sensation. The neural correlates of consciousness are like the master switches that turn on these lights, allowing you to experience the world in vivid detail. It's not just about seeing or hearing, it's the deeper knowing, the sense of being present in that moment. Scientists have found that certain patterns of brain activity seem to align with this awareness, like whispers of a hidden symphony playing beneath the surface. While we can't yet pinpoint exactly where or how consciousness arises, these clues suggest it's woven into the fabric of our brain's intricate dance, a blend of memory, perception, and self-reflection. It's both humbling and awe-inspiring to think that something so profound emerges from the quiet hum of neurons, a gentle reminder of how deeply connected we are to the mysteries of our own existence. Take a moment to breathe and feel that connection. It's already there, waiting to be noticed. 6. The role of the prefrontal cortex in decision-making. You might think of your brain as a bustling control center where decisions are made in a room at the very front, the prefrontal cortex. It's like the calm conductor of an orchestra, ensuring every note from your thoughts, emotions, and memories plays in harmony to guide your choices. When you're faced with a decision, big or small, this part of your brain steps in, weighing the pros and cons, imagining future outcomes, and helping you pause before acting impulsively. It's where what-if scenarios unfold, like a movie playing in your mind, allowing you to see the ripple effects of each choice. But it doesn't work alone. It listens to whispers from your past experiences, your gut feelings, and the world around you. When you're calm and focused, it shines brightest, like a lantern in the fog, helping you navigate with clarity. Yet, when stress or fatigue takes over, it's as if the lantern flickers and decisions become harder to make. The good news is, with practice and mindfulness, you can nurture this conductor, helping it guide you with patience and wisdom through life's endless choices. 7. The default mode network and self-reflection. You know those moments when your mind wanders, like a boat drifting gently on a calm lake, with no particular destination in sight? That's when your default mode network hums quietly in the background, orchestrating thoughts that often lead you inward. It's not about solving problems or planning ahead. It's more like a soft pause, a space where you reflect on who you are, the stories you tell yourself, and how you fit into the world around you. Think of it as a mental mirror, where you catch glimpses of yourself, not just as you are, but as you've been and who you might become. This self-reflection isn't always clear or neat. Sometimes it's a tangle of memories, hopes, and questions. But it's in this tangle that you often find meaning, like piecing together a puzzle made of your own experiences. It's a reminder that you're not just reacting to life, you're understanding it, bit by bit. And while it might feel like you're lost in thought, you're actually finding something essential, a deeper connection to yourself, quiet but true, like the steady pulse beneath your skin. 8. The unconscious mind and Freudian theory. You might not always notice it, but there's a part of your mind quietly working behind the scenes, like a deep river flowing beneath the surface of your thoughts. This is your unconscious mind, the place where forgotten memories, buried feelings, and unspoken desires reside. Sigmund Freud saw it as a kind of hidden garden, brimming with life, but often just out of reach. He believed it shapes your actions, dreams, and even your slips of the tongue, like a silent hand guiding the way you move through the world. Imagine it as a dusty attic filled with old boxes. Some hold treasures, others hold things you'd rather not face, but they're all part of who you are. Freud suggested that understanding this hidden space could help untangle the knots in your emotions, like gently loosening a tightly wound thread. It's not about dredging up pain for its own sake, but about giving yourself the chance to see things more clearly, to breathe a little easier. Your unconscious isn't something to fear. It's simply a part of you, waiting patiently to be heard, understood, and even embraced. 9. Jung's collective unconscious. You might find yourself wandering through the vast landscape of your mind, curious about the deeper layers beneath everyday thoughts and feelings. Imagine, if you will, that beneath the surface of your individual experiences lies a shared well, a place where everyone's stories, symbols, and dreams mingle, like an ancient river that flows through us all. This is Carl Jung's idea of the collective unconscious, a hidden reservoir of universal patterns and archetypes that shape how we see the world. It's not something you can touch or measure, but rather something you sense, like the way a melody can evoke emotion even if you've never heard it before. These patterns appear in myths, fairy tales, and even your own dreams, offering glimpses of something timeless and profound. It's as if we're all connected by an invisible thread, woven together by the wisdom of those who came before us. This doesn't mean your experiences aren't unique. It simply suggests that, beneath the surface, we're all part of a larger story. And in that understanding, there's a quiet comfort, a reminder that you're never truly alone in this journey of being human. 10. Cognitive dissonance and mental conflict. Content generation failed for cognitive dissonance and mental conflict. 11. The psychology of belief formation. You carry beliefs with you like keys in your pocket, some familiar and well-worn, others new and still catching the light. Have you ever wondered how they got there? Beliefs aren't handed to us fully formed. They grow slowly, like roots finding their way through soil, shaped by the ground they're planted in. Sometimes, they're born from moments of clarity, like a flash of insight that feels like the sun breaking through clouds. And other times, they're stitched together over years, woven from the threads of experiences, conversations, and whispers of doubt. What's fascinating is how your mind holds on to them, sometimes fiercely, like gripping a lifeline, and other times loosely, like letting a feather drift in the wind. It's as if your beliefs are stories you tell yourself to make sense of the world, not always perfect, but deeply personal. And yet, even the strongest beliefs can shift, like sand on a shoreline, shaped by new tides of thought or feeling. That's the beauty of it. You're not stuck with what you believe today. You're free to question, to wonder, to grow, always becoming, always unfolding, like the pages of a book you're still writing. 12. Confirmation bias in thinking. You've probably noticed it before, how easy it is to cherry-pick ideas that already feel right to you, like plucking familiar fruits from a tree while ignoring the ones just out of reach. This tendency, known as confirmation bias, quietly shapes much of how we think and decide. It's like wearing a pair of glasses that only let in the light you already trust, shadowing anything that might challenge your view. When you encounter a new piece of information, your mind instinctively reaches for what aligns with your beliefs, subtly reinforcing them like stacking bricks to build a wall. It's not something you do on purpose. It's just the way your brain tries to make sense of the world, seeking comfort in the familiar. But here's the thing. This quiet habit can sometimes keep us from seeing the bigger picture, like standing too close to a painting and missing its full beauty. Being aware of it is the first step, like noticing the glasses you've been wearing. Once you do, you can gently remind yourself to look beyond, to consider the fruits you might have missed, and to let in the light that challenges and grows your understanding. It's not about being wrong. It's about being curious, open, and kind to the way your mind works. 13. Heuristics and mental shortcuts. You know how sometimes you make decisions without really thinking them through, like when you automatically take the same route home or grab your usual coffee order. That's your mind using little shortcuts, like well-worn paths in a familiar forest, to save energy and move through the day more smoothly. These mental tricks, or heuristics, are like trusted friends who whisper quick advice when you're faced with too many choices or too little time. They help you navigate life's constant stream of decisions, but they're not perfect. Sometimes they lead you astray, like a shortcut that turns out to be longer than the main road. Yet, even when they stumble, they reveal something beautiful about how you're wired. Your brain is always trying to protect you, to simplify the overwhelming into something manageable. It's okay to lean on these shortcuts, just as it's okay to pause and question them now and then. After all, understanding how your mind works is like holding a lantern in the dark. It doesn't eliminate every shadow, but it helps you step forward with a little more clarity and kindness toward yourself. 14. The role of emotions in rational thought. You might think emotions cloud judgment, making it harder to see clearly, but they're more like the wind behind a sail. Sometimes they push you where you need to go, sometimes they blow you off course, but they're always a part of the journey. Rational thought isn't the absence of emotion. It's the art of understanding its role, like knowing when to adjust the sail or steady the rudder. Emotions give depth to your decisions. They connect logic to what truly matters to you, like the warmth of sunlight on your face. Without them, life would feel flat, like a story without its heart. Yet, emotions can also overwhelm, sweeping you into a storm of impulse. The key lies in balance, listening to your feelings without letting them steer unchecked. Think of it as a dance. Emotions lead beautifully, but reason keeps the rhythm steady. Together, they create something far more meaningful than either could alone. So, the next time you feel uncertainty rising, pause. Acknowledge the emotion, let it speak its truth, then invite reason to join the conversation. In that space, you'll find clarity, not despite your emotions, but because of them. 15. The neuroscience of free will. You might wonder, as you sit here in this quiet moment, whether the choices you make are truly your own or if they're guided by unseen forces in your brain. The idea of free will can feel like trying to hold on to water, slippery and elusive. Neuroscience suggests that your brain is always working, like a symphony conductor, blending thoughts, emotions, and impulses into the decisions you believe are entirely yours. But here's the thing. Even if your choices are shaped by neural pathways, those well-worn trails in the forest of your mind, they're still your trails. You've walked them through experience, learning, and intention. It's not that free will is an illusion, but rather that it's more like a dance between you and your brain's intricate machinery. Think of it as a conversation, not a monologue. You respond, adapt, and grow, even if the starting point of your decisions lies in the background hum of neurons firing. So, while your brain might lay the groundwork, you're the one who paints the picture. And that's something to take comfort in, a reminder that even within the complexity of your mind, you are still the artist of your life. 16. Determinism versus libertarianism in mind debate. You might find yourself standing at the crossroads of thought, wondering whether the paths we walk are already laid out or if we're the ones carving them as we go. This is the heart of the determinism versus libertarianism debate. Imagine life as a river. Determinism suggests it flows along a fixed course, shaped by the rocks and banks of cause and effect, with every twist and turn predestined by what came before. Libertarianism, on the other hand, paints life more like a canvas, where each stroke of choice adds to the picture, unbound by a predetermined script. It's a quiet tug-of-war between the idea that our actions are rooted in the past, like echoes rolling down a canyon, and the belief that we hold the brush, free to paint our future in bold or delicate hues. Neither view diminishes life's beauty, but they ask you to consider how much of your story is written or how much you're still writing. It's a gentle reminder that whether you lean toward the river or the canvas, the act of reflecting on your path is itself a kind of freedom, a quiet space where you can pause and feel the weight, or lightness, of your choices. 17. The illusion of self, Buddhism and neuroscience. You look in the mirror and see a face you've known your whole life, a self that feels solid, constant, unmistakably you. But what if that self is more like a river than a stone, always flowing, always changing? Buddhism whispers this truth, urging us to see that the self we cling to is not a fixed entity, but an ever-shifting process, a collection of thoughts, sensations, and experiences woven together. Neuroscience echoes this insight, revealing that your brain is a bustling symphony of neurons firing in patterns that create the illusion of continuity, like a movie projector stitching still frames into a seamless story. Together, these perspectives invite you to loosen your grip on identity, to sense the fluidity beneath the surface. Imagine standing on a beach, watching waves rise and fall, each wave distinct yet inseparable from the ocean. Just as no wave exists apart from the water, no moment of you exists apart from the stream of life. This understanding isn't about losing yourself, but about finding freedom in recognizing how vast and interconnected it all is. There's comfort in this, a gentle reminder that you're not a single, isolated note, but part of a boundless, ever-unfolding song. 18. The concept of ego in psychology. You know that voice in your head that sometimes feels like it's running the show, the one that worries about what others think, or insists on being right, or pushes you to prove yourself. That's your ego, not in the casual sense of being egotistical, but as the part of you that tries to make sense of who you are in the world. Imagine it like a bridge between your deepest desires and the outside world, constantly negotiating between what you want and what life demands. It's not good or bad, just human, a necessary guide that helps you navigate relationships, goals, and even your own emotions. But like any guide, it can sometimes lead you astray, especially when it clings too tightly to labels or stories about yourself. When you quiet the ego, even for a moment, you might notice how much lighter you feel, as if you've set down a heavy backpack you didn't realize you were carrying. It's not about dismissing this part of yourself, but rather understanding it, so you can live with a little more ease and a little less resistance. 19. The divided brain hypothesis, Ian McGilchrist. You open a book, and it feels like stepping into a vast forest where every tree holds a different story. Ian McGilchrist's divided brain hypothesis invites you to wander through this forest, exploring how our two brain hemispheres perceive the world in subtly distinct ways. Imagine the left hemisphere as a meticulous cartographer, mapping details with precision, focusing on parts rather than wholes. It thrives on logic, categorizing, and labeling, creating a structured framework that helps you navigate the terrain. The right hemisphere, though, is more like a poet standing at the forest's edge, seeing the interconnectedness of everything. The way light dances through leaves, how the air hums with life. It grasps the bigger picture, the emotions, the unspoken truths that the left hemisphere might overlook. McGilchrist suggests that modern society leans heavily on the left hemisphere's analytical prowess, often at the expense of the right's intuitive wisdom. This imbalance, he argues, shapes how we live, think, and relate, pulling us toward fragmentation rather than wholeness. As you reflect on this, it's as if you're holding two lenses, each offering a unique view of the same world. Balancing them, you might find a richer, more harmonious way of seeing, not just the forest, but the life within it. 20. The placebo effect and mind-body interaction. You know, it's fascinating how your mind and body can dance together in ways you might not even notice. Think of the placebo effect as a quiet whisper from your brain to your body, saying, everything's going to be okay. It's like when you hold a cup of tea you're told is calming, and just the act of holding it, the warmth, the expectation, starts to ease your nerves, even if it's just hot water. Your mind has this incredible ability to influence your body, not in a flashy, dramatic way, but softly, like a gentle breeze rearranging leaves. Studies have shown that when people believe they're receiving something helpful, a pill, a treatment, even kind words, their bodies often respond as if it's real. It's not about tricking yourself. It's about tapping into the deep connection between belief and healing. Imagine your mind as a gardener, tending to the soil of your body. When it plants seeds of hope or trust, they take root, quietly nurturing your well-being. And sure, it's not a cure-all, but it's a reminder of how powerful your thoughts can be. In moments of doubt, it's comforting to know that even a small shift in perspective can sometimes bring a wave of relief. 21. Neuroplasticity and learning. You might think your brain is set in its ways, like a well-worn path through a forest, but the truth is far more hopeful. It's more like soft clay, always reshaping itself with every thought, every experience, every effort to learn. When you practice something new, whether it's a language, a skill, or even a shift in perspective, your brain quietly rewires itself, strengthening connections like tiny bridges being built between distant islands. At first, it feels slow, even frustrating, as if you're pushing against an invisible wall. But with time and patience, those pathways grow smoother, more familiar, until what once felt impossible becomes second nature. It's not about being smart or talented. It's about showing up again and again, trusting that each small effort leaves a mark. Even mistakes are part of the process, like gentle corrections on a map, guiding you closer to understanding. So when you feel stuck, remember, your brain is always listening, always adapting, and with kindness and consistency, you'll find your way. 22. Memory formation and retrieval. You sit there, wondering how memories form, how some moments stick like burrs to your coat, while others slip through your fingers like sand. Think of your mind as a vast, dimly lit library, where every experience is a book being carefully shelved. Some are placed front and center, bright and easy to reach. Others drift to the back, waiting for the right cue, a scent, a sound, a feeling, to pull them into the light. It's not just about what happens to you, but how you feel when it happens. Strong emotions act like bookmarks, making certain memories easier to find later. And when you recall them, you're not just pulling a file from a drawer, you're gently reshaping the story each time, like smoothing a wrinkled page with your fingertips. It's okay if some details fade or shift. That's part of being human. What matters is how these memories weave together, quietly shaping who you are, like threads in a tapestry you're always adding to. So when you struggle to remember, or when a memory surprises you by surfacing unbidden, know that your mind is simply doing its tender, imperfect work, keeping what it can, letting go of what it must. 23. False memories and cognitive distortions. You might think your memories are like photographs, crisp and unchanging, but they're more like sketches, fluid, imperfect, and touched by the hand of time. Imagine holding a piece of clay. Every time you revisit a memory, you're shaping it a little, smoothing some edges, altering others, sometimes without even realizing it. This isn't a flaw in your mind, but a natural part of how we make sense of the world. Cognitive distortions, those subtle twists in how we see things, act like invisible lenses, coloring our thoughts and memories in ways that feel true, even when they're not. It's as if your mind is weaving a story, stitching together fragments to create something whole, even if the threads don't always match. This doesn't mean your experiences are invalid. It simply means memory is a companion, not a historian. It's okay to question, to wonder, to gently hold space for the possibility that what you remember might shift over time. Think of it like clouds in the sky. They change shape as they drift, but the sky remains vast and open, inviting you to observe without judgment. Trust that your mind is doing its best, and in that trust, find room for kindness toward yourself. 24. The role of sleep in mental processing. You know how a cluttered room feels overwhelming until you tidy it up? Sleep is like that, a natural reset for your mind. When you drift off, it's not just rest for your body. Your brain quietly sorts through the day's experiences, like a librarian organizing shelves of books. Through dreams and deep slumber, it filters out the noise, decides what to keep, and lets go of what's unnecessary. This process helps you wake up with a clearer perspective, ready to face what comes next. Think of it as a gentle hand sweeping away the mental cobwebs, leaving space for fresh thoughts and ideas. Without enough sleep, your mind can feel foggy, like trying to navigate a dense forest without a map. But with rest, your emotions settle, your creativity flourishes, and your ability to solve problems sharpens. It's as if sleep whispers to your brain, "It's okay, we'll figure this out," giving you the quiet confidence to handle challenges. So, when you prioritize sleep, you're not just recharging, you're giving your mind the gift of clarity, one peaceful night at a time. 25. Dream interpretation and the subconscious. You, lying in bed half asleep, might wonder where those vivid dreams come from, as though your mind is whispering secrets you can't quite hear during the day. Dreams are like a quiet river running beneath the surface of your waking thoughts, carrying fragments of feelings, memories, and questions you haven't fully faced. They're not random. They're your subconscious gently tugging at your sleeve, asking you to pay attention to what's been tucked away. Maybe you're chasing something in your dream, or perhaps you're lost in a familiar place. These images are symbols, not puzzles to solve, but clues to understand yourself better. Think of them as lanterns lighting corners of your mind you've overlooked, showing you emotions you've buried or desires you've ignored. And it's okay if they don't make perfect sense. They're not meant to. Dreams are less about logic and more about feeling, less about answers and more about curiosity. So, the next time you wake with a lingering image or emotion, don't rush to dismiss it. Sit with it, like you're holding a fragile shell washed ashore, and let it tell you its story. Your dreams are a quiet conversation with yourself, a gentle reminder that even in stillness, your mind is always listening, always speaking. 26. Lucid dreaming and consciousness. You find yourself standing at the edge of a vast, misty landscape, your own mind at rest, yet alive with hidden currents. This is the world of lucid dreaming, where the lines between sleep and wakefulness blur like watercolors on damp paper. Here, you might suddenly realize you're dreaming, and with that awareness, the ordinary rules soften. You could float above the ground or converse with long-lost memories as if they were old friends. It's a gentle reminder that consciousness isn't just a single light switch, flipping on and off, but more like a dimmer, with shades of awareness that ebb and flow. Think of it as tending a garden at twilight. Sometimes you're fully present, pulling weeds with purpose, and other times you're simply wandering, letting the breeze guide you. Lucid dreaming invites you to explore these quieter corners of yourself, not with urgency, but with curiosity, as if turning the pages of a book written in a language you somehow already know. And in those moments, you might just discover that the mind, even in sleep, is always listening, always whispering back. 27. Meditation and brain changes. You might notice, after a few moments of sitting still with your breath, how the chatter in your mind begins to settle, like ripples fading on the surface of a pond. This quieting isn't just a feeling. It's a shift happening deep within your brain, where meditation gently rewires the way you respond to stress, focus your attention, and even experience emotions. Think of it as training a muscle, but instead of lifting weights, you're strengthening patience and awareness, layer by layer. Over time, the parts of your brain linked to worry and reactivity grow quieter, while those tied to clarity and calmness become more active, like turning down the volume on a noisy radio and tuning into a softer, clearer station. It's not about emptying your mind, but learning to observe your thoughts without being swept away by them, as if you're sitting on a riverbank watching leaves drift by. And the beauty of it? These changes aren't fleeting. They linger, shaping how you move through the world with a little more ease, a little more space to breathe. It's a quiet revolution, happening one mindful moment at a time. 28. Mindfulness and stress reduction. You might notice, as life unfolds, how often the world feels like a rushing river, pulling you along with its currents of deadlines, responsibilities, and endless to-do lists. It's easy to feel swept away, carried by the force of it all, until you're left breathless and distant from the calm within. But imagine for a moment that you could step out of that river, even just for a few breaths, and stand on its bank. Here, the water still flows, but you're no longer caught in its pull. This is mindfulness, the gentle act of pausing, noticing, and being present. It's not about stopping the river or changing its course. It's about finding space within yourself to observe it with a quiet heart. When you take these moments to anchor yourself, perhaps by focusing on your breath, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, or the sound of leaves rustling, you begin to soften the edges of stress. It's like smoothing a crumpled piece of paper, letting the creases ease bit by bit. With practice, these small pauses can weave themselves into your days, offering pockets of peace, even amidst the rush. And in that stillness, you might find that stress doesn't hold you quite so tightly anymore. 29. The psychology of flow states. You know that feeling when you're so absorbed in something that time seems to melt away? When your hands move effortlessly, your mind hums with quiet focus, and the world narrows to just you and the task at hand, like a river flowing smoothly over stones, undisturbed by the chaos around it. That's what psychologists call a flow state, though you might recognize it as being in the zone. It's not about pushing harder or thinking faster. It's about finding a rhythm where challenge and skill meet in perfect balance, like a dancer who moves without counting steps. When you're in flow, worries fade, self-doubt quiets, and even exhaustion feels distant, as if you've slipped into a pocket of stillness inside the storm of everyday life. The secret isn't chasing it, but creating the conditions for it. Choosing tasks that stretch you just enough, removing distractions, and letting yourself sink into the moment like a warm bath. And when it happens, it's a gentle reminder that joy isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's the quiet hum of being exactly where you're meant to be. 30. The effects of psychedelics on perception. You've probably felt the way a rainy window distorts the world outside, blurring colors and softening edges, making familiar shapes feel just a little strange. Imagine that, but instead of a window, it's your mind. Psychedelics can open a door to that kind of gentle transformation, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary and the world seems to breathe with a deeper rhythm. It's as if the tools you've always used to understand reality, time, space, even your sense of self, are suddenly rearranged, not harshly, but like a dream where everything feels connected in new and unexpected ways. Colors might dance, patterns could pulse, and even silence might feel alive, as though you're seeing the world through a lens you didn't know existed. This isn't about losing touch with reality. It's about feeling it more vividly, like turning up the volume on a song you've always loved but never fully heard. And when the experience fades, it often leaves behind a quiet shift, a softer way of seeing, as though you've been reminded that the world is full of layers, always waiting to be explored. 31. Near-death experiences and consciousness. You find yourself hovering at the edge of something vast and unfamiliar, like standing at the shore of a lake at dusk, where the water meets the sky in a haze of soft light. Near-death experiences often feel this way, moments where the mind seems to step beyond the body, as if consciousness is a lantern carried into a dimly lit room, revealing glimpses of what lies just out of sight. People describe floating above themselves, moving toward warmth or light, or even encountering loved ones long gone, as though time itself has folded gently around them. These moments aren't just fleeting dreams. They leave behind a quiet certainty, like the imprint of a hand in sand after the tide has washed it away. Whether it's the brain's final symphony or something deeper, what lingers is often a profound sense of peace, as if the universe has whispered a secret just for you. And perhaps that's the most comforting thought, that even in the darkest moments, there might be a light waiting, not to frighten, but to welcome. 32. Artificial intelligence versus human consciousness. You sit here, perhaps wondering about the vast gulf between artificial intelligence and human consciousness, two realms that seem so close, yet feel worlds apart. Think of AI as a finely tuned piano, capable of playing any note with precision, its keys pressed by the hands of logic and data. It's brilliant, efficient, even awe-inspiring, but it doesn't create the music out of longing or joy. It doesn't feel the melody. Human consciousness, on the other hand, is like the composer behind the piano, weaving notes into stories, driven by emotions, memories, and dreams that no algorithm can fully replicate. It's messy, unpredictable, and deeply human in its imperfections. AI can process information faster than we ever could, but it doesn't pause to marvel at a sunset or wrestle with the meaning of love. It doesn't carry the weight of existence or the spark of curiosity that asks, why? As you reflect on this, consider that perhaps the beauty lies not in choosing one over the other, but in understanding how they dance together, a tool and its creator complementing each other in the symphony of progress. And in that dance, you may find reassurance that the essence of being human remains uniquely ours. 33. The Chinese Room Thought Experiment, Searle. You're sitting in a room with no windows, and someone slides a piece of paper under the door with squiggly lines on it. Chinese characters, let's say. You don't understand them, but you have a rule book that tells you how to respond. You follow the instructions, scribble down the right symbols, and slide the paper back. To the person outside, it looks like you understand Chinese, but inside, you're just following steps without grasping the meaning. This is the heart of the Chinese Room Thought Experiment. A question about whether following rules can ever truly equal understanding. It's like imagining a chef who prepares a meal by meticulously following a recipe but never tastes the food. To others, the dish seems perfect, but the chef doesn't know if it's sweet or salty, comforting or strange. Searle, the philosopher behind this idea, invites us to wonder, can machines ever truly think, or are they just mimicking thought? It's a quiet but profound question, one that lingers like the echo of a bell. It doesn't necessarily give answers, but gently nudges us to think about what it means to truly know something, not just to go through the motions, but to feel the meaning beneath the surface. 34. the Turing test, and machine minds. You might wonder, as you sit here with me, what it truly means for a machine to think, and whether it can ever cross that invisible line into something we'd call a mind. Imagine standing before a curtain, talking to someone unseen. You ask questions, you listen, and if the answers feel human enough, you might believe there's a person on the other side. That's the essence of the Turing test, a way to measure whether a machine can mimic human conversation so well that it blurs the line between artificial and authentic. But here's the deeper question. Does passing the test mean the machine understands? Or is it simply echoing what it's been taught, like a clever parrot repeating phrases it doesn't truly grasp? It's not just about words or logic. It's about the layers beneath, the feelings and intentions that color our thoughts. Machines can paint with data, but can they feel the brushstrokes? Perhaps the real intrigue isn't whether they can fool us, but whether they can ever share in the quiet, intangible parts of being, like the way a sunset can make you pause, or how a memory can linger like a soft hum in the back of your mind. It's a gentle mystery, one that invites us to reflect on what it means to think, to feel, and to truly be. 35. The ethics of brain-computer interfaces. You might find yourself wondering, as the lines between our minds and machines blur, what it truly means to bring technology this close to our thoughts. Imagine your brain as a quiet garden, a place where ideas bloom like wildflowers, untamed and unbound. Now, picture a brain-computer interface as a delicate gatekeeper, one that could, in theory, help you tend that garden, pulling weeds or watering seeds. But here's the thing, who holds the key to that gate? And what happens if it's opened too wide or by the wrong hands? These questions aren't just about technology. They're about what it means to be human. On one hand, such interfaces could help someone who's lost their voice find it again, or let a paralyzed person move a limb with thought alone. On the other, they could risk turning our inner world into something others can monitor, shape, or even control. It's like handing someone a map to your most private spaces, someone who might not always have your best interests at heart. So, as we step into this uncharted territory, the challenge isn't just about building something extraordinary. It's about doing so with care, ensuring that we protect the sanctuary of our minds while still embracing the potential for good. 36. Neuroethics and cognitive enhancement. You find yourself standing at the edge of a vast and uncharted landscape, the human mind, where the possibilities of cognitive enhancement shimmer like distant stars, both alluring and enigmatic. Imagine having the ability to sharpen your focus like a finely tuned lens, or to lift the fog of forgetfulness with the gentle push of a button. It's tempting, isn't it? Yet, beneath the surface of these promises lie deeper questions, like pebbles dropped into a still pond, rippling outward. What does it mean to improve ourselves, and who gets to decide where the line between therapy and enhancement truly lies? The ethical terrain here is delicate, woven with threads of fairness, identity, and the quiet fear of losing what makes us authentically human. Think of it like tending a garden. Some changes help the flowers bloom, while others might alter the soil in ways we can't predict. As you ponder this, remember, the mind is already a marvel, not a machine to be upgraded, but a living, breathing story, ever unfolding. And perhaps the most profound enhancement begins not with technology, but with the courage to embrace our own beautifully imperfect selves. 37. The philosophy of mind, Dennett, Nagel, etc. You, sitting here now, pondering the nature of your own thoughts, might wonder where the line between mind and world truly lies. It's like staring into a clear stream, watching the water ripple over stones. You know it's there, but it's hard to grasp its essence. Some thinkers, like Daniel Dennett, might say the mind is more like a tool crafted by evolution, a story we tell ourselves to make sense of the chaos around us. It's not a separate, mysterious thing. It's part of the fabric of how we exist in the world. Others, like Thomas Nagel, invite you to consider the deeper, almost ineffable qualities of consciousness, what it feels like to be you, to see the world through your unique lens. It's as though each mind is a window, and though we might describe the glass or the view, the experience of looking through it remains profoundly personal. These questions aren't just intellectual exercises. They're about understanding what it means to be alive, to think, to feel. And while the answers may be elusive, the act of asking itself is a kind of quiet magic, a way of holding a mirror up to the universe and discovering something of yourself reflected back. 38. Qualia, the subjective experience problem. You wake up one morning to the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the golden glow painting the walls of your room. And in that moment, you feel something deeply personal, impossible to fully share with anyone else. That's qualia, the private, shimmering world of your own experience. The way honey tastes sweet to you, or how the color blue feels calm and expansive. It's the reason no one can ever truly know how you perceive the world, just as you can't step inside someone else's mind to see through their eyes. Think of it like standing in a garden. You might describe the roses as red and fragrant, but the richness of that experience, the way it stirs your memories or lifts your mood, belongs only to you. Science can map the brain's pathways, but it can't capture the quiet magic of how a sunset feels or why a song can make your heart ache. And that's okay. There's a beauty in knowing some things are meant to be felt, not explained, a gentle reminder that your inner world is uniquely, wonderfully yours. 39. Panpsychism, consciousness in all matter. You're sitting there, maybe with a cup of tea in hand, watching the steam curl into the air, and it occurs to you, what if that steam, the cup, even the table beneath it, aren't just things but experiences in their own subtle way? Panpsychism suggests that consciousness isn't something that suddenly appears in humans or animals, but is woven into the fabric of reality itself, like light filtering through leaves, present everywhere, but in different shades and intensities. Imagine the universe as a vast, humming network where even a stone has some faint echo of experience, not like your thoughts or feelings, but something simpler, quieter, a murmur of existence. It's not that rocks are pondering philosophy, but that the capacity for feeling, in some elemental form, might be as fundamental as gravity or electricity. This idea softens the edges between you and the world, inviting you to see everything as alive in its own way, not separate, but part of a grand, whispering tapestry. It's a gentle thought, really, one that doesn't demand answers, but simply asks you to wonder, to sit with the possibility that consciousness is less a spark and more a slow, steady glow, everywhere at once. 40. The global workspace theory of consciousness. You find yourself sitting quietly, wondering how your thoughts, so vivid and present, can emerge from the quiet hum of your brain. Imagine your mind as a vast, bustling theater where countless actors backstage whisper lines, shuffle props, and prepare for their moment in the spotlight. But only one scene, one idea, ever takes center stage at a time, illuminated by the glow of your attention. This is the heart of the global workspace theory, the idea that consciousness is like that spotlight, selecting what matters most from the endless stream of mental activity and bringing it into the shared space of your awareness. It's not that the other thoughts vanish. They're still there, murmuring in the wings, waiting their turn. This elegant dance explains why you can suddenly notice the sound of rain after being lost in a book, or why a forgotten memory surfaces when a friend mentions your childhood. It's comforting, in a way, to think of your mind as both vast and orderly, a place where the most important things always find their way into the light, while the rest remains, patient and unseen, part of the quiet magic that makes you you. 41. The Integrated Information Theory, IIT. You find yourself sitting quietly, perhaps with a warm drink in hand, wondering how consciousness arises from the tangled web of neurons in your brain. The Integrated Information Theory, or IIT, offers a way to think about this mystery, not as a sudden spark, but as a slow, rippling dance of connections, where every part of the brain whispers to every other part, weaving a single, seamless experience. Imagine a symphony. No single note carries the melody alone, but together, they create something richer, something whole. IIT suggests that consciousness isn't just about having thoughts or feelings, but about how deeply those thoughts and feelings are intertwined, like roots of a tree supporting its branches. The more interconnected the system, the more vivid the experience. It's a gentle reminder that your awareness isn't just a fleeting moment, but a carefully woven tapestry, shaped by every whisper of sensation, memory, and meaning. And in that quiet moment, you might feel a soft reassurance that even in stillness, your mind is alive, humming with its own quiet song. 42. The role of attention in perception. You might think of attention as the quiet guide that shapes how you experience the world, like the gentle hand that turns the pages of a book, deciding what to linger on and what to skim past. It's not just about seeing or hearing. It's about what you notice, what you focus on, and how those details come together to form your perception. Imagine standing in a bustling park. Your attention might drift to the laughter of children, the rustle of leaves, or the warmth of the sun on your skin. Each moment, your focus shifts, and with it, your understanding of the scene changes. This selective nature of attention is both a gift and a limitation. It allows you to dive deeply into what matters most while leaving the rest as background noise. Yet, it also means you might miss something important if your gaze is fixed elsewhere. Think of it like a flashlight in a dark room. It illuminates what you direct it toward, but the rest remains in shadow. By becoming aware of where you shine your attention, you take a step towards shaping not just what you see, but how you feel and connect with the world around you. 43. The neuroscience of pain perception. You know that moment when you stub your toe or touch something hot, and it feels like the world narrows down to that single, sharp sensation? That's your brain's way of sounding an alarm. But here's the fascinating part. Pain isn't just about what happens to your body. It's also about how your brain decides to interpret it. Imagine your nervous system as a vast, intricate network of messengers, each carrying signals from the site of an injury or discomfort to your brain. But here's where it gets interesting. Your brain isn't just a passive receiver. It's more like an artist, shaping and coloring those raw signals into the experience we call pain. It considers context, memory, and even your emotions, like a painter mixing colors on a canvas. That's why the same injury might feel unbearable one day and manageable the next, depending on what's going on in your life or how you're feeling. It's as if your brain is constantly weighing the evidence, deciding how much attention this pain deserves. Understanding this can be empowering. It reminds you that while pain is real, it's also deeply personal, and there's a lot more nuance to it than meets the eye or the toe. 44. Mirror neurons and empathy. You might not realize it, but there's a quiet, invisible thread woven into your brain that lets you feel what others feel, like a mirror reflecting not just actions, but emotions too. These are your mirror neurons, little messengers that light up when you watch someone else laugh, cry, or even yawn, almost as if you're experiencing it yourself. It's why you instinctively smile when you see joy on a friend's face or feel a pang of sadness when someone shares their heartache. This isn't just about imitation, it's about connection. Think of it as a bridge between you and others, built by these tiny, yet powerful, cells. They help you step into someone else's shoes, even if just for a moment, and understand their world without needing words. Empathy, that warm sense of caring deeply for others, grows from this foundation. It's like a garden planted by your mirror neurons, watered by your attention and nurtured by your willingness to listen. And while it's not always easy to feel deeply, especially when life gets noisy, these neurons remind us that we're hardwired to care. So, the next time you feel moved by someone else's story, know it's not just your heart reacting. It's your brain quietly whispering, asterisk, I see you, I feel you, I'm here with you. Asterisk, it's a beautiful reminder that, in the end, we're all connected in ways we may never fully see, but can always feel. 45. Theory of mind in humans and animals. You sit there, perhaps with a cup of tea in hand, wondering what it's like to see the world through someone else's eyes, or through the eyes of another creature entirely. Theory of mind, that ability to understand thoughts, feelings, and intentions that aren't your own, is like a bridge between you and the rest of the world. In humans, it's what lets you sense when a friend is upset before they say a word, or know to explain more clearly when someone looks confused. It's as if we're all gently tuning into each other's inner radio stations. But what about animals? Do they have that same knack for stepping into another's paws or claws? Some certainly seem to, like a dog who nudges you when you're sad, or a crow who works with its mate to solve a tricky puzzle. It's not exactly the same as what we do, but it's a quiet hint of connection, a shared spark of understanding. It's comforting, isn't it? To think that even across species, there's a kind of silent conversation, a way of saying, I see you, and I'm here with you. 46. The development of consciousness in infants. You've probably noticed how a baby's world seems to unfold like the delicate petals of a flower, revealing itself slowly, layer by layer. At first, their awareness is like a soft, dim light in a cozy room, gentle and unfocused, yet deeply present. They're attuned to the rhythm of your voice, the warmth of your touch, the cadence of your movements, even before they fully understand what these things mean. As weeks turn into months, that light begins to brighten, and their consciousness starts to take shape, like a puzzle being assembled piece by piece. They begin to recognize faces, to anticipate routines, to explore their tiny hands as if discovering a new tool. You can almost see the moment when they realize that their actions have effects, like the first time they drop a toy and watch it fall, or when they babble and you respond with a smile. It's as if they're building a map of the world, one sensation, one interaction at a time. And through it all, your presence is their anchor, steady and reassuring, helping them navigate this vast, beautiful landscape of becoming. It's a quiet miracle, unfolding right before your eyes. 47. The psychology of self-deception. You, like everyone else, carry a kaleidoscope of thoughts and beliefs about yourself, some clear, some clouded, and within that swirl lies the curious phenomenon of self-deception. It's not about lying to others. It's the quiet way your mind shields you from truths that might feel too sharp or uncomfortable to hold. Picture it as a gentle fog that rolls in when you're faced with something that conflicts deeply with how you see yourself or the world. Maybe it's overlooking a flaw because admitting it feels like unraveling a thread in the fabric of your identity, or perhaps it's convincing yourself that a choice you made was purely rational when, deep down, it was driven by fear or longing. This isn't weakness, it's humanity. Your mind, like a kind caretaker, often prioritizes comfort over clarity, smoothing over cracks to keep you moving forward. Yet, there's beauty in recognizing these moments, not to judge or punish yourself, but to understand the tender ways you protect your heart. When you gently lift the veil, even for a moment, you invite a deeper honesty, one that doesn't shatter you, but helps you grow, like sunlight filtering through that fog, revealing a landscape you're ready to see. 48. The bystander effect and social cognition. You're standing in a crowded park when someone stumbles and drops their belongings, scattering them across the path. For a moment, everyone pauses, but no one moves to help. It's not that people are unkind. It's that they're waiting, glancing at one another, assuming someone else will step forward. This is the bystander effect, a quiet quirk of human nature where the presence of others makes us hesitate, like birds perched on a wire, each expecting another to take flight first. Our minds weave subtle stories in these moments. Surely, someone more capable will act. Or maybe it's not as serious as it seems. It's not indifference, but a kind of shared uncertainty, like fog settling over a group, blurring the clarity of responsibility. Yet understanding this can be freeing. When you recognize that hesitation in yourself or others, it becomes easier to step through that fog, to be the one who reaches out first. Because often, all it takes is a single person to break the spell, to remind everyone else that kindness isn't a spectator sport, but a quiet, collective act we can choose to join. 49. Groupthink and collective decision-making. You might find yourself sitting around a table with a group of people, all of you trying to solve a problem or make a decision together. At first, it feels like a shared effort, but slowly, something shifts. The louder voices start to guide the conversation, and before you know it, everyone seems to agree, even if you're not sure you do. This is groupthink, a quiet tide that sweeps us along, smoothing out differences and leaving us with a decision that feels safer, but maybe not truer. It's like a flock of birds flying in unison. No one wants to break away and risk being alone. And yet, the best decisions often come when someone dares to speak up, to say, wait, have we thought about this differently? Collective decision-making can be a beautiful thing, like weaving a tapestry with many hands, but it only works if each thread, each voice, is allowed to stand out. So, next time you're in that room, remember your quiet doubt, your unique perspective, might be the thread that keeps the whole piece from unraveling. It's not about being right. It's about being honest, both with yourself and with the group. And that's how we create something truly meaningful together. 50. The psychology of persuasion, Cialdini. You've probably noticed how often people seem to move in sync with certain cues, like magnets subtly drawn to one another. What Robert Cialdini calls the psychology of persuasion. It's not about manipulation. It's about understanding the gentle currents that guide our decisions, often without us realizing it. Think of it as a dance, where certain steps, like reciprocity, scarcity, or authority, naturally pull us into rhythm. For instance, when someone does us a favor, there's this quiet urge to return the gesture, as if a little balance needs to be restored. Or consider scarcity. When something feels limited, it's like a spotlight shines on it, making it suddenly more desirable. Authority works similarly. We tend to trust those who seem to know the way, like following a guide in unfamiliar terrain. Cialdini's principles aren't tricks or traps. They're insights into the human heart, reminders of how connected we are to each other and our surroundings. Knowing these patterns can help you navigate decisions with more awareness, like noticing the breeze before it shifts the leaves. It's about seeing the world with a bit more clarity, so you can move through it with intention and grace. 51. Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, CBT, Principles. You might find it helpful to think of cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, as a kind of gentle toolkit for understanding and reshaping the patterns of thought and behavior that sometimes keep us stuck. Imagine your mind is like a garden. Sometimes weeds grow, those unhelpful thoughts or habits that take up space and block the sunlight from reaching the flowers. CBT doesn't rip out the weeds angrily. Instead, it teaches you how to notice them, understand why they're there, and carefully cultivate healthier growth. It's about recognizing that thoughts, feelings, and actions are interconnected like threads in a tapestry. When one thread pulls tight, it can affect the whole picture. By paying attention to these connections, CBT helps you untangle the knots and create a smoother, more balanced design. It doesn't promise instant fixes. Change takes time, like tending to that garden, but it offers practical, step-by-step ways to help you feel more in control and less overwhelmed. The beauty of it is in its simplicity. It's not about digging endlessly into the past, but focusing on small, manageable shifts in the here and now. And the best part? You're the gardener, gently nurturing your mind toward growth and resilience. 52. The neuroscience of addiction. You might wonder why, even when we know something isn't good for us, it can feel so hard to let it go. The answer lies in the way our brain works, like a quiet but powerful engine that keeps us moving, always seeking reward and comfort. When we engage in something pleasurable, whether it's a substance, a behavior, or even a habit, our brain releases a surge of chemicals, like a sparkler lighting up a dark room. It feels good, and it's supposed to. But over time, the brain starts to rely on that sparkler for light, and the natural glow of everyday joy dims. It's not that you've lost your way. It's that your brain has learned a new path, like a river carving its course through soft earth. The good news is, just as the river can shift, so can your brain. With patience, care, and a little time, you can help it rediscover the warmth of simpler, healthier rewards. Think of it as gently guiding a friend back to a trail they once loved, one step at a time. You're not alone in this, and there's always a way forward. 53. Depression and brain chemistry. You might wonder why depression feels so heavy, like a fog that clings to your thoughts and slows your steps. It's helpful to think of your brain as a delicate garden, where countless tiny messengers, chemicals like serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine, help nurture the flowers of your mood, focus, and energy. When depression settles in, it's as though these messengers are scarce or struggling to find their way, leaving parts of the garden wilted and dim. It's not a failure of you or the garden. It's more like the soil has shifted or the weather has turned too cold for too long. These shifts can happen for many reasons: stress, loss, illness, or even something as subtle as changes in your body's rhythms. The good news is that gardens can heal. Sometimes it takes patience, like waiting for the sun to return naturally through therapy, self-care, or time. Other times, it might need a little extra tending, like medication or lifestyle changes, to help those messengers find their way again. And just like a garden, your brain is resilient, capable of finding balance and blooming anew, even after the darkest seasons. 54. Anxiety disorders and neural pathways. You might notice that anxiety doesn't just live in your mind. It weaves its way through your body, like a current in a river, shaping how you feel and react to the world around you. Picture your brain as a vast network of paths, some well-trodden and others faint, like trails in a forest. For someone with an anxiety disorder, certain pathways become deeply ingrained, almost like shortcuts that the mind takes automatically when faced with stress or fear. These paths are shaped by experiences, thoughts, and even small moments, and over time, they can feel like the only route your brain knows to take. But here's the hopeful part. Just as paths in a forest can shift and change, so can these neural pathways. With patience and care, you can gently encourage your brain to explore new routes, ones that lead to calm instead of chaos. Think of it as tending to a garden, nurturing new growth while being kind to the roots that have been there for so long. It's not about erasing the old paths, but learning to walk them less often, giving yourself the space to breathe and grow. You're not stuck. You're simply learning a new way forward, step by steady step. 55. The gut-brain axis and mental health. You might not realize it, but there's a quiet, constant conversation happening inside you right now. A dialogue between your gut and your brain that shapes how you feel, think, and even who you are. Picture it like a hidden river, flowing with messages that connect these two distant parts of you. What you eat, how you digest it, and the tiny microbes living in your gut all send signals upstream to your brain, influencing your mood, your stress levels, and even your clarity of thought. It's as if your gut is whispering secrets to your mind, quietly nudging it toward calm or chaos. When this connection is in harmony, you feel grounded and balanced, like a tree with deep roots. But when it's out of sync, it can feel as though you're caught in a storm, with emotions and thoughts swirling unchecked. The beautiful thing is, you can gently guide this conversation. Simple choices, like eating nourishing foods, tending to your stress, or even just breathing deeply, can help steady the flow, bringing peace to both your body and mind. It's a reminder that healing, even in the quietest ways, starts from within. 56. The role of dopamine in motivation. You know that feeling when you wake up with a spark of excitement for the day ahead, or when you take the first step toward a goal and it just clicks. That's dopamine quietly doing its work, a gentle nudge in your brain that whispers, asterisk, this matters, keep going. Asterisk, it's not just about pleasure. It's about anticipation, the quiet thrill of possibility that pulls you forward like a distant light guiding you through fog. When you feel motivated, it's because dopamine has painted the path ahead with just enough brightness to make the effort feel worthwhile. But it's also subtle, like a tide. Too little, and even the simplest tasks can feel heavy. Too much, and you might chase fleeting highs instead of steady progress. The beauty is in its balance, how it helps you recognize what truly resonates with you, turning ordinary moments into steps towards something meaningful. So when you find yourself drawn to a challenge or a dream, remember, it's not just willpower. It's your brain's way of saying, asterisk, yes, this is worth your time. Asterisk, and that's a quiet kind of magic. 57. Serotonin and emotional regulation. Content generation failed for serotonin and emotional regulation. 58. The effects of trauma on the brain. You might not realize it, but trauma leaves its mark on the brain much like a storm changes the shape of a shoreline. Not all at once, but gradually and persistently. When something deeply distressing happens, your brain, which is usually so good at helping you navigate life, shifts into survival mode. It's like flipping a switch to focus only on protecting you, leaving less energy for the parts of your brain that handle thinking, planning, or feeling calm. Over time, this can create patterns where even small reminders of the past feel overwhelming, like echoes of the storm returning unexpectedly. The brain's memory systems, which usually store experiences neatly, can get tangled, making it hard to separate what's happening now from what happened then. You might notice things like trouble focusing, feeling on edge, or withdrawing from things you once enjoyed, not because you're broken, but because your brain is trying to cope. The beautiful thing is, though, the brain is also deeply adaptable. Just as the shoreline reshapes itself over time, with patience and care, your brain can heal. It's a reminder that even after the storm, there's always a way to find calm again. 59. Dissociation and altered states of consciousness. You know that feeling when you're driving a familiar route and suddenly you've arrived without consciously remembering the journey? That's a little like dissociation, a gentle slipping away from the present moment, as if your mind has stepped into another room for a while. It's not inherently good or bad. Sometimes it's a way your mind protects you, like when it pulls a curtain over something overwhelming. Other times, it might feel like you're floating, untethered, watching life from a distance, as though you're holding a snow globe and everything inside is swirling just out of reach. Altered states of consciousness, too, can feel like this, shifting the way you see and experience the world, like looking through a window that's frosted or tinted with different colors. These moments remind us how fluid our minds are, how they can flow between realities, much like a river that sometimes runs clear and other times carries the silt of deeper currents. It's okay to feel this way. It's a part of being human, a quiet reminder that our inner worlds are vast and mysterious, always gently unfolding. 60. Hypnosis and suggestibility. You find yourself settling into a comfortable chair, the weight of the day slowly lifting as your mind begins to soften, like a pebble sinking into still water. Hypnosis, in its gentlest form, is simply a state of focused relaxation, a quiet space where your thoughts can drift without resistance, like leaves on a slow-moving stream. It's not about losing control, but rather about tuning in, allowing suggestions to weave through your awareness like sunlight filtering through trees. Some people are more naturally open to this, as if their minds are already halfway there, while others may need a little more time to unwind the knots of everyday tension. But here's the beautiful part. Suggestibility isn't a weakness. It's a kind of flexibility, a willingness to let new ideas take root in fertile soil. Imagine your mind as a garden. Hypnosis just helps you prepare the ground, so the seeds of change or healing can grow with ease. And in this space, there's no pressure, no right or wrong way to be. Just you, listening, and the quiet possibility of something shifting ever so gently within. 61. The psychology of habit formation. You know how a tiny stream carves its path through the earth over time, slowly shaping the landscape? Habits are a lot like that, small, repeated actions that gradually mold your behavior until they become almost second nature. At first, it might feel like you're swimming upstream, fighting old patterns and trying something new. But with patience and consistency, those actions begin to flow more easily, like water finding its natural course. It's not about willpower alone. It's about gently nudging yourself toward routines that align with who you want to be. Think of it as planting seeds in a garden. Some will take root quickly, while others need more care and time to grow. The key is to focus on the process rather than the outcome, celebrating small victories along the way. Over time, these habits become the invisible threads that weave the fabric of your daily life, making it easier to stay grounded even when life feels chaotic. And remember, it's okay to stumble. Every misstep is just a chance to learn and adjust, like a river finding a new path around a rock. Trust in the rhythm of repetition, and soon, you'll find yourself moving forward, almost without thinking about it. 62. Willpower and ego depletion. You wake up each morning with a certain amount of willpower, like a glass filled to the brim with clear, fresh water. Throughout the day, as you make decisions, resist temptations, and push through challenges, you take gulps from that glass. Some sips are small, like choosing to skip a second cookie, and others are larger, like staying focused on a task when distractions call. By the evening, your glass might feel nearly empty, leaving you with a sense of mental fatigue known as ego depletion. It's as if your brain has been running a marathon, and now it's asking for rest. This doesn't mean you've failed or that your willpower is weak. It simply means you've used it, just as a runner uses their energy to cross the finish line. The beauty is that this glass refills overnight, ready for a new day. To preserve it, you might learn to pace yourself, prioritizing what truly matters and letting go of what doesn't. Think of it like tending a garden, knowing when to plant, when to water, and when to let the soil recover. Willpower isn't endless, but it's renewable, and understanding its rhythms can help you navigate life with more grace and ease. 63. The power of intuition versus rational analysis. There's something deeply human about the way we make decisions, isn't there? On one hand, there's intuition, that quiet whisper in your chest, like a compass needle pointing you toward what feels right, even when you can't explain why. It's the way you might choose a path in the woods without a map, trusting the pull of the trail beneath your feet. On the other hand, there's rational analysis, that steady hand that gathers facts, weighs options, and lays everything out like puzzle pieces, fitting them together until the picture makes sense. It's the careful blueprint before building a house. Both are powerful, yet they speak different languages. Intuition is like a breeze, subtle, instinctive, and hard to grasp, while rational analysis is the anchor, grounding you in what's concrete and known. The beauty is, they don't have to oppose each other. Sometimes, intuition lights the fire, and reason keeps it burning. Trusting both allows you to move through life with both clarity and curiosity, like a dancer who knows the steps but still lets the music guide them. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about letting them work in harmony, guiding you toward what feels true. 64. The Dunning-Kruger effect in self-assessment. You might notice, from time to time, how confidently someone speaks about a topic they barely understand, or how quietly the truly skilled hesitate, as if they're standing at the edge of a vast ocean, aware of its depths. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect in motion. The less we know, the easier it is to overestimate our grasp, like a child holding a single puzzle piece and declaring they've solved the whole picture. It's not arrogance, just a natural blind spot, one we all have in areas where our knowledge is thin. But as we learn more, the landscape expands before us, revealing how much we've yet to explore, and that's when humility quietly settles in. Think of it like walking into a fog. At first, you can't see far, so the path feels simple, but as the mist clears, the distance becomes daunting. Yet there's comfort in this. Recognizing the gaps in our understanding is the first step toward filling them, and that self-awareness, though humbling, is where real growth begins. So if you ever feel uncertain, take heart. It's a sign you're seeing more of the map, not less. 65. The imposter syndrome and self-perception. You might sometimes feel like you're standing in a room filled with mirrors, each one reflecting a different version of yourself. Some confident, others uncertain, all seemingly real, but none quite capturing who you truly are. This is the quiet tug of the imposter syndrome, that nagging whisper that insists you don't belong, that your successes are flukes, and that sooner or later, everyone will see through the mask. It's as if you're wearing a costume that fits perfectly, yet you're convinced it's borrowed and temporary. But here's the thing. This feeling doesn't mean you're unworthy or inadequate. It simply means you're human, navigating the fragile dance between self-doubt and self-belief. Think of it like clouds passing over the sun, dark and heavy for a moment, but not permanent. What's often overlooked is how deeply tied this feeling is to self-perception, the way we see ourselves through a lens that's often smudged by comparison or fear of failure. Yet, just as a smudge can be wiped clean, so too can the way you view yourself. Start by acknowledging your strengths, your efforts, your journey. You're not an imposter. You're someone learning, growing, and shining in your own quiet way. And that's enough. More than enough, really. 66. The neuroscience of love and attachment. You might wonder what really happens in your brain when you feel that warm pull of love or the quiet ache of longing for someone. It's like a symphony, really, a delicate dance of chemicals and connections that weave together to create something uniquely human. When you feel close to someone, your brain releases oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, which wraps around your thoughts like a soft blanket, making you feel safe and connected. Meanwhile, dopamine floods your system, lighting up your brain's reward centers like fireflies on a summer night, urging you to seek out that person again and again. But love isn't just about joy. It's also about attachment, that deep-rooted need to hold on to what feels like home. This is where the amygdala, your emotional sentinel, steps in, quietly scanning for threats to those bonds and firing signals of fear or comfort, depending on how secure you feel. Think of it as a garden. Love plants the seeds, but attachment nurtures them, helping them grow strong even in the shifting seasons of life. It's a tender, intricate process, one that reminds you how deeply wired you are to connect, to care, and to belong. 67. The psychology of fear and phobias. You might notice how fear feels like an uninvited guest, showing up suddenly and knocking the wind out of you. Heart racing, palms damp, the world narrowing to that one overwhelming thing. It's your brain's ancient alarm system, designed to protect you, but sometimes it gets stuck on a loop, reacting to shadows instead of real danger. Phobias, those intense and irrational fears, are like that alarm cranked up to full volume even when there's no fire. They can latch onto anything: heights, spiders, crowded spaces, and make the ordinary seem terrifying. Think of it as your mind wearing glasses that distort reality, magnifying what it sees until it's all you can focus on. Yet, here's the gentle truth. Fear isn't a flaw, it's a signal. It shows you where your edges are, where you feel vulnerable. And while it might feel like a storm you'll never escape, it's also something you can learn to navigate, like finding calm in the eye of the hurricane. Slowly, with care and patience, you can teach your mind to see clearly again, to whisper reassurance instead of sounding the alarm. Fear doesn't define you. It's just a part of the journey, and you're always growing through it. 68. The role of oxytocin in social bonding. You might not see it, but inside your body, there's a quiet force weaving connections between you and the people you care about. Oxytocin, often called the love hormone. It's like an invisible thread that tugs gently when you hug a friend, hold hands, or share a laugh with someone dear. This tiny molecule doesn't shout. It whispers, encouraging trust, warmth, and a sense of belonging. When you gaze into a loved one's eyes or feel that rush of comfort after a heartfelt conversation, oxytocin is there, quietly strengthening the ties that bind you together. It doesn't just live in the big moments, though. It's also present in the small, everyday acts of kindness, like a quiet thank you or a knowing smile. Think of it as the glue that holds the mosaic of human relationships together, piece by piece. And it's not just about romantic love. Oxytocin nurtures the bonds between parents and children, friends, and even communities. It reminds us that connection isn't just something we seek. It's something we're wired for, a gentle nudge toward togetherness in a world that can sometimes feel so scattered. So, in those quiet moments when you feel truly close to someone, know that oxytocin is softly at work, helping you feel whole. 69. The effects of loneliness on the brain. You might not always notice it at first, but loneliness has a way of quietly reshaping the way your brain works, like a slow tide smoothing the edges of a stone. When you're alone for too long, your mind can start to feel like a house with too many empty rooms, echoing, almost cavernous, as it searches for connection. Studies show that loneliness can heighten your sensitivity to threats, making you more alert to potential rejection or danger, as if your brain is constantly scanning the horizon for signs of trouble. Over time, this can leave you feeling worn out, like a candle burning at both ends. But it's not just about feeling tired. Loneliness can also dull the parts of your brain that help you connect with others, making it harder to trust or feel understood, as if a veil has been drawn over your social instincts. Yet, here's the comforting truth. Your brain is remarkably resilient, like a garden that can regrow after a long winter. Even small moments of connection, a kind word, a shared laugh, can gently nudge your mind back toward balance, reminding you that loneliness, though powerful, is not permanent. 70. The psychology of altruism. You might wonder why people sometimes go out of their way to help others, even when it costs them something: time, effort, or even comfort. It's like watching someone pause in the middle of a busy street to pick up a stranger's dropped papers, their own schedule momentarily forgotten. At first glance, it seems selfless, but dig a little deeper, and you'll find a beautiful interplay between the heart and the mind. Altruism, this gentle act of giving, often feels like planting a seed without expecting to see it grow. Yet, it nourishes something deep within us, a sense of connection, purpose, or maybe just the quiet joy of easing someone else's burden. It's not about grand gestures. Sometimes, it's as simple as a kind word or a listening ear. And while it might seem like we're giving something away, We often receive something intangible in return, a feeling of warmth, like sunlight spilling over us after a long, gray day. Altruism reminds us that we're not alone in this world. It's our way of reaching out, weaving threads of kindness into the fabric of our shared existence. It's a quiet but powerful truth. In helping others, we often help ourselves. 71. Moral decision making and the brain. You've probably faced moments where your gut told you one thing, but your mind argued for another, leaving you caught in the middle, wondering what's truly right. These crossroads are where your brain works its quiet magic, balancing instinct, emotion, and reason like a conductor guiding an orchestra. Think of your brain as a tree with deep roots. Those roots are your values, your upbringing, and the lessons life has taught you. The branches, though, sway with the winds of the moment, responding to feelings, fears, and hopes. When you make a moral decision, it's as if the tree pauses, taking in all it knows and feels, before leaning in the direction that feels most aligned with who you are. It's messy, sometimes, and rarely clear-cut, but that's where growth happens. You're not just deciding, you're becoming. And while there's no perfect answer, there's comfort in knowing that your choices are shaped by layers of thought, care, and experience, like ripples in a pond, each one influencing the next, quietly shaping the story of who you are. Trust that process and trust yourself. You're doing the best you can with the light you have. 72. The trolley problem and ethical dilemmas. You stand at a crossroads, not of roads, but of choices, where the weight of a single decision presses gently against your thoughts. Imagine a trolley barreling down the tracks, and on one side, 5 people are unknowingly in its path. On the other, one person stands, equally unaware. The lever in your hand feels heavy, not because it's hard to pull, but because the act of pulling it means choosing who lives and who doesn't. It's like holding a compass in a storm. You know north and south, but morality doesn't always point in a straight line. Do you act and intervene, saving 5 but consciously ending one life? Or do you refrain, letting fate take its course, even if it means more lives are lost? It's not just about the numbers. It's about the quiet whispers of responsibility, guilt, and the human instinct to protect. This dilemma isn't here to haunt you. It's here to hold up a mirror, to show you how tangled and beautiful ethics can be. It reminds you that life isn't always about clear answers, but about asking the right questions softly as you navigate the tracks of your own heart. 73. The neuroscience of creativity. You might think of creativity as a spark, but in truth, it's more like a river, something that flows, sometimes gently, sometimes with force, always shifting and reshaping the landscape of your mind. When you're creating, your brain isn't just lighting up in one spot. It's orchestrating a symphony of connections. It's as if different parts of your brain, like old friends, are suddenly coming together to share ideas, each bringing their own unique perspective. The prefrontal cortex, often seen as the planner, steps back a little, allowing more spontaneous, intuitive thoughts to rise to the surface. It's like loosening the reins so the mind can wander freely, exploring uncharted territories. Meanwhile, the default mode network, your brain's daydreaming hub, lights up, weaving together memories, emotions, and possibilities into something entirely new. This isn't about forcing inspiration. It's about creating space for it to emerge, like planting seeds in fertile soil and waiting for them to bloom. And just as a river doesn't flow in a straight line, creativity thrives on twists and turns, on moments of uncertainty and discovery. So, when you feel stuck, remember, your brain is still working, quietly folding and unfolding ideas until the right moment arrives. Trust the process and let the river guide you. 74. The role of the right brain in artistic thinking. You know how sometimes, when you're lost in a song or doodling absent-mindedly, it feels like the world slows down and your thoughts flow like water? That's your right brain gently taking the lead, weaving together colors, sounds, and emotions into something whole and beautiful. It's the part of you that sees the forest before the trees, that feels the rhythm of a poem before understanding its meaning. While the left brain loves details and logic, the right brain is the quiet artist, painting with intuition and imagination. It's like a river that carries you into uncharted creative spaces, where ideas aren't just thought, but felt. When you're drawing, dancing, or even daydreaming, it's your right brain that lets you see the world as a canvas, turning ordinary moments into something extraordinary. It doesn't rush or demand perfection. It simply invites you to explore, to play, to connect with the deeper, more abstract parts of yourself. And in those moments, art becomes more than just something you make. It becomes a way of seeing, a quiet conversation between your heart and the world around you. 75. The psychology of language acquisition. You sit there, turning a new phrase over in your mind like a smooth stone in your palm, wondering how something as simple as a word can carry so much weight. Language isn't just memorized, it's absorbed, like sunlight into leaves, shaping the way you think and feel without you even noticing. When you first learn a word, it's a fragile thing, barely rooted, but with time and care, it grows stronger, weaving itself into the fabric of your thoughts. You might stumble at first, tripping over unfamiliar sounds, but that's part of the dance. Every mistake is just a step closer to fluency. Think of it like learning to ride a bike. The wobbles are inevitable, but one day, without realizing it, you're gliding effortlessly, the rhythm natural as breathing. And just as a garden thrives with patience and attention, so does your grasp of language, blooming in its own time. There's no rush, no single right way. Just you, listening, practicing, and slowly finding your voice in a world of words. It's a quiet miracle, really, how we learn to say what we mean and mean what we say. 76. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, language and thought. You're sitting there, turning over an idea in your mind. How much does the language you speak shape the way you think? It's like standing at the edge of a vast forest, wondering if the paths you take are guided by the words you know, or if you'd wander differently with another set of signs and sounds. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis suggests that language isn't just a tool for expressing thoughts, but a lens that tints how you see the world. Imagine describing colors without a word for blue. Would you still notice the sky in the same way? Or consider how some languages weave time into their grammar, bending it like a river's current, while others treat it as a straight road. It's not that language locks you in a cage of thought, but rather that it gently nudges your attention, like a breeze guiding a leaf's fall. You might wonder, then, if learning new words could open new corners of your mind, softly, like sunlight spilling into a room you'd never noticed before. It's a quiet reminder that the way you speak and the way you think are tenderly intertwined, each shaping the other in ways both subtle and profound. 77. The neuroscience of learning disabilities. Content generation failed for. The neuroscience of learning disabilities. 78. Autism spectrum and cognitive differences. You might think of the mind as a vast, ever-shifting landscape, where each person's inner world is shaped by unique patterns of thought, feeling, and perception. For those on the autism spectrum, these patterns often unfold like intricate mosaics, beautifully detailed, sometimes surprising in their arrangement, but no less whole or valuable. Imagine a garden where flowers bloom at different times, in different colors, each with its own rhythm. Cognitive differences are like that, natural variations in how people experience and interact with the world. Some minds might notice the smallest details, the hum of a refrigerator, the texture of a fabric, while others weave big ideas together effortlessly, seeing connections where others might not. These differences aren't flaws, just different ways of being human. And just as a forest thrives because of its diversity, so does our world when we embrace the many ways people think, feel, and communicate. It's okay if some things feel harder or easier for you than they do for others. What matters is finding the spaces where you feel understood and the people who appreciate the unique way you see things. After all, every mind has its own quiet magic, waiting to be noticed. 79. Synesthesia, blended sensory experiences. You might wake up one morning and notice that the sound of rain feels like a cascade of soft silver threads brushing against your skin, or that the scent of freshly baked bread carries with it a warm, golden hue. This blending of senses, where one experience spills into another, is what synesthesia feels like, a gentle mingling of the senses that transforms the ordinary into something extraordinary. Imagine tasting a strawberry and not just savoring its sweetness, but also seeing a faint ripple of pink in your mind's eye, or hearing a violin note and feeling it as a velvety texture brushing against your thoughts. It's as if the world around you is painted in richer, more interconnected shades, where sounds have colors and flavors have shapes. For those who experience it, synesthesia isn't a disruption but a quiet enhancement, like living in a world where every moment is layered with subtle, unexpected beauty. It's a reminder that our perceptions are deeply personal, each shaped by the unique way our minds weave together the threads of experience. And in that weaving, there's a kind of magic, a gentle invitation to see, hear, and feel more deeply. 80. The psychology of time perception. You find yourself sitting here, perhaps noticing how minutes can stretch like an endless summer afternoon or slip away like sand through your fingers, depending on the moment. Time, in its truest form, is a river, steady and unchanging. But how we perceive its flow is deeply personal, shaped by the currents of our emotions and experiences. When you're absorbed in something joyful or engaging, time seems to accelerate, as though it's racing ahead without you. Yet, in moments of waiting or discomfort, it can slow to a crawl, each second feeling heavy and deliberate. This dance between clocks and feeling reminds us that time perception isn't just about counting hours. It's about how fully we inhabit those hours. Think of it like this. Life is a tapestry, and each thread represents a moment. Some threads shimmer brightly, others blend quietly, but they all weave together into the story of your day. When you're mindful, when you pause to truly notice the texture of the present, it's as if the tapestry becomes richer, more vivid. And even when time feels fleeting or difficult, remember this. It's not about holding on to it tightly, but about savoring the way it shapes you, softly and steadily, like water smoothing stone. 81. Deja vu and memory glitches. You've probably experienced it, that strange sensation when a moment feels eerily familiar, as though you've lived it before, even though you know you haven't. It's like stepping into a scene from a dream you can't quite recall, a whisper of memory that slips through your fingers as soon as you try to grasp it. Deja vu is one of those fleeting mysteries of the mind, a gentle glitch in the way we process time and experience. Think of it as your brain momentarily tripping over itself, like a record skipping just for a beat, before resuming its usual rhythm. Memory itself isn't perfect. It's more like a mosaic, pieced together from fragments and colored by emotions. Sometimes, those pieces shift, overlap, or blur, creating moments that feel oddly out of place. It doesn't mean something's wrong. It's just a reminder of how beautifully complex your mind is. These glitches aren't mistakes. They're glimpses into the delicate dance of how you perceive the world. So, the next time deja vu washes over you, let it linger for a moment. It's not an error. It's your mind's quiet way of reminding you how wonderfully human you are. 82. The neuroscience of déjà rêve. You've probably had that moment when a dream feels so vivid, so real, that later, when you're awake, the world seems to echo it, as if life is tracing the outlines of something you've already imagined. It's called déjà rêve, this sense that what's happening now was first lived in a dream. It's like finding a well-worn path in a forest you've never walked before, yet it feels deeply familiar. Neuroscience suggests that this phenomenon might be tied to how our brain stores and retrieves memories, blending the surreal landscapes of dreams with the sharp edges of our waking reality. When you dream, your brain isn't just idling. It's weaving intricate stories, stitching together fragments of thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Sometimes, those threads resurface later, subtly influencing how you perceive the present. It's not magic, though it can feel that way. It's just your brain's way of reminding you how deeply connected your inner and outer worlds are. And isn't there something comforting about that? It's as though your mind whispers, "You've been here before. Even if you don't remember, you're safe, you're whole." 83. The psychology of superstitions. You've probably noticed how superstitions seem to weave themselves into the fabric of everyday life, like a quiet whisper in the back of your mind. Whether it's knocking on wood, avoiding black cats, or tossing salt over your shoulder, these rituals often feel like little safety nets, catching our worries before they tumble too far. At their core, superstitions are rooted in a desire for control, an attempt to make sense of a world that often feels unpredictable, like trying to steer a boat in choppy waters with no compass. They offer comfort because they give us something to hold on to, even if it's just a fleeting sense of certainty. Think of them as tiny stories we tell ourselves, where we're the hero who can ward off bad luck or summon good fortune with a simple gesture. They're not just habits, they're small acts of hope, a way to calm the storm of anxiety that sometimes brews inside us. And while they might not change the outcome of events, they can change how we feel, like holding an umbrella in the rain, even if the storm continues to rage. In a way, superstitions remind us that it's okay to seek reassurance, even in the smallest, simplest ways. 84. The role of rituals in mental well-being. You might not realize it, but the rituals you weave into your daily life, whether it's that first quiet sip of coffee in the morning, the way you light a candle before bed, or even the familiar rhythm of a weekly walk, are like anchors in the sea of your days. They ground you, offering a moment of pause amidst the chaos, a chance to catch your breath and reconnect with yourself. Think of them as gentle reminders that you are here, now, and that this moment matters. These small, repeated acts aren't just habits. They're meaningful threads that stitch together a sense of stability and purpose. In a world that often feels unpredictable, rituals provide a comforting predictability, a soft space where you can exhale and feel safe. They don't have to be elaborate or grand. Even the simplest gestures, like taking a deep breath before diving into your work or folding laundry with care, can carry a quiet power. Over time, these rituals become a kind of quiet dialogue with yourself, a way to nurture your mental well-being without needing to overthink it. They're like little acts of self-kindness, subtle but steady, reminding you that even in the busiest of times, you are taking care of you. 85. The neuroscience of spiritual experiences. You, sitting here with your thoughts, might wonder how something as intangible as a spiritual experience can feel so deeply real, so profound. Imagine your brain as a garden, where every thought and emotion is a seed, and spiritual moments are like sudden bursts of sunlight, illuminating everything in a new way. Neuroscience tells us that these experiences, whether during meditation, prayer, or awe in nature, activate specific areas of the brain, like turning on a hidden switch. Your prefrontal cortex, often the voice of reason, quiets down, while your parietal lobe, which helps you feel connected to the world, shifts its focus. It's like taking off a heavy coat you didn't realize you were wearing. Suddenly, boundaries soften, and you feel a sense of unity, almost as if the edges of you blur into something greater. These moments often release chemicals like dopamine and serotonin, bathing your mind in warmth and calm. It's not magic, but it might feel like it. A gentle reminder that your brain is wired to find meaning, connection, and peace, even in the quietest corners of your life. And isn't that fascinating? That within you, there's a space where science and wonder meet, where the ordinary can transform into something extraordinary. 86. The psychology of near-death experiences. You find yourself standing at the edge of an unknown threshold, like the quiet pause between twilight and nightfall, when the world seems to hold its breath. Near-death experiences often unfold this way, moments where life's sharp edges soften, and time stretches like a slow-moving river. People describe floating above their bodies, drawn toward a light that feels like warmth after a long winter, or hearing voices that resonate like distant echoes of love. These glimpses into something beyond our everyday understanding aren't just fleeting hallucinations. They're profound encounters that linger in the heart, like the afterglow of a deeply remembered dream. Some return with a newfound calm, as if they've brushed against a truth too vast to put into words, while others speak of life unfolding like a story they're finally beginning to understand. Whether it's the mind's way of comforting itself or something more mysterious, these experiences often leave behind a quiet reassurance, a sense that even in the darkest moments, there's a light waiting, not to frighten, but to welcome. And perhaps that's the most beautiful part, the reminder that fear and wonder can exist side by side, like two hands clasped in the dark. 87. The effects of meditation on brain structure. You might think of your brain as a vast, ever-changing garden, where thoughts and emotions grow like wildflowers. some bright and uplifting, others tangled and thorny. But just as a gardener tends to the soil, meditation gently nurtures your mind, helping it reshape itself over time. Studies show that regular meditation can thicken areas of the brain linked to focus and compassion, like sunlight strengthening the stems of young plants, while quieting the overactive regions tied to stress, as if soothing a storm into a calm sea. It's as though each mindful breath slowly smooths the rough edges of your thoughts, creating space for clarity and stillness to take root. Even a few minutes a day can weave subtle changes, like soft ripples spreading across a pond, reminding you that transformation doesn't demand force, just patience and presence. So if you ever feel your mind is too busy or weary, remember, like any skill, it grows stronger with gentle practice, and every moment of stillness is a quiet act of care for the landscape within. 88. The philosophy of self-identity. You find yourself standing in front of a mirror, not just the one on your wall, but the kind that reflects who you are inside, your thoughts, your choices, your memories. Self-identity is like a river. It's always flowing, carrying bits of who you've been and who you're becoming. Sometimes the current feels swift, pulling you toward new shores, and other times it's calm, letting you drift in familiar waters. The challenge isn't to pin down who you are in a single moment, but to recognize that you're both the river and the person watching it. You're shaped by your experiences, yes, but also by how you choose to interpret them, like an artist deciding which colors to highlight on a canvas. And just as a painting isn't defined by one brushstroke, neither are you by any single event or decision. It's comforting, really, to know that your identity is something you can gently guide rather than rigidly define. You're not stuck being who you were yesterday, nor are you limited to who you think you should be tomorrow. You're free to evolve, to explore, to simply be, like a tree growing rings, quietly adding depth with each passing year. 89. The ship of Theseus paradox and personal identity. You've probably noticed how, over time, little pieces of yourself, your beliefs, your habits, even your body, change bit by bit. It's like a boat, sailing through the years, with its planks being replaced one by one until, at some point, none of the original would remain. The ship of Theseus is that kind of story, a gentle puzzle about whether something stays the same when all its parts are replaced. Now, think about you, sitting here today. Are you still the same person you were years ago? Your experiences have shaped you like wind carving soft curves into sand. And yet, somehow, the core of you still feels familiar, like a melody that lingers even when the notes change. It's not about the parts, really. It's about the connection between them, the thread of memory and feeling that keeps you whole. And that's the beauty of it. Change doesn't erase you. It's simply how you grow, like a tree adding rings while its roots stay steady. So even as you evolve, you are still, unmistakably you. And that's something to trust, isn't it? 90. The neuroscience of aging and cognition. You might notice, as the years go by, that certain things feel a little different, like the way memories slip into place or how quickly you grasp a new idea. Your brain, like a finely tuned instrument, adapts to the passage of time in its own graceful way. Think of it as a library, where some books are well-worn from frequent use, while others sit quietly on the shelf, waiting to be rediscovered. As we age, the brain's ability to process information can slow down, much like a tree growing thicker bark to protect itself. But this doesn't mean it loses its strength or depth. Instead, it becomes a place of accumulated wisdom, where connections between experiences and emotions grow richer, even if recalling names or dates takes a bit longer. Research shows that while certain areas of cognition may shift, others, like emotional insight and problem solving, often deepen, offering a kind of balance. It's like trading speed for nuance, a quiet refinement that comes with time. And though aging can bring challenges, the brain remains resilient, always finding new pathways to light the way forward. So, as you reflect on these changes, remember, your mind is not fading but evolving, becoming more textured, like a story being written with ever-growing care. 91. The psychology of nostalgia. You've probably felt it before, that warm, bittersweet tug in your chest when an old song plays, or the sudden flash of a childhood memory that feels like stepping into sunlight. Nostalgia is like a bridge between who you are now and who you once were, a quiet reunion with moments that shaped you. It's not just about longing for the past, it's a way of grounding yourself, reminding you of the people, places, and feelings that made you feel whole. Think of it as a photo album for your soul, filled with snapshots of joy, connection, and even the challenges that helped you grow. What makes nostalgia so powerful is its ability to soften the edges of time, turning even ordinary memories into something sacred. It's not that the past was perfect, it rarely was. But nostalgia lets us revisit it with kindness, finding comfort in what's familiar while gently acknowledging how far we've come. It's a reminder that life, even in its messiness, is woven with threads of beauty. So when that feeling washes over you, let it linger. It's not just a longing, it's a quiet celebration of the person you've been and the person you're becoming. 92. The role of music in emotional processing. You might notice how music has this quiet magic, the way it seeps into your thoughts and tugs at feelings you didn't even know were there. It's like a gentle hand guiding you through emotions, unfurling them slowly, as though peeling back layers of paper to reveal a hidden picture. When you're sad, a song can wrap around you like a soft blanket, giving space to feel without judgment. When you're happy, it amplifies that joy, turning it into something you can almost hold in your hands. Music doesn't just mirror what you're feeling, it helps you process it, like a conversation where the other person listens wordlessly but still understands. It can take the tangled mess inside you and weave it into something clearer, more bearable. Think of it as a bridge, connecting the raw, unspoken parts of your heart to the world outside. And in those moments when words fail, music steps in, speaking in melodies instead of sentences. It's not just sound, it's companionship, a quiet reminder that even when emotions feel overwhelming, you're not alone. Music is there, steady and patient, helping you make sense of it all. 93. The neuroscience of humor and laughter.